Alright guys, so today we're going to go over about two different methods on how to attach the trusses here. The first method that I'm going to show you is using pins and needles, and then the second one is going to be using a piece of scrap balsa wood to cut a little bit of a jig to hold the truss in place so that it doesn't fall over. You'll notice that on the front of my scale model shed here I have a piece of balsa wood going across the length to kind of hold it open, because when I glued them together the walls kind of angled in, and this just kind of helps to keep everything nice and straight and upright on the walls. You'll notice that I put a small amount of glue on the trusses that I'm attaching here, and then I'm going in with the pins and I'm just putting it through the truss and putting it into the top plate of your outside wall. And that's all the more you really need to do for this method. It's important to note that even though I'm using pins, I'm only going to do one at a time because it is a very unstable and it's likely that it will fall over until the glue dries. For method 2, we're going to use a jig, and what we're going to do is take the truss that we're going to attach, hold it in place, and then I'm going to get a scrap piece of wood and I'm going to put it up across the two trusses that we're attaching here, and I want to go in and make sure that I have the space in between those two. So at least cut that piece a little bit longer than the space between the two trusses in order to ensure that you're going to have enough there for it to hold the new piece in place. Once it's cut to length, then I'm going to just simply cut out notches on either side of this this jig, and I'm going to then use this jig to hold the trusses up in place so that they stay put and they don't fall down. You notice it's just a simple notch. It's not exact. I'm just kind of eyeballing it as I go here. The important part is that you notch out enough that there's enough space in between both trusses. You'll notice that there's plenty of space in between there, and it's going to hold them in place. So now that I have that cut, I'm ready to go and start getting this next truss put into place. Nice thing to note here is that these trusses are being lined up exactly on top of the studs that we've put in on our sidewalls. And you'll notice there that with the truss jig in there, it holds it in place nicely. So the same step is you're going to put a small amount of glue on your trusses, and excuse my arm here for being in the way of the camera. But then once you have your glue in there, I'm going to get my trusses lined up on the top plate of the outside walls, and then I'm going to use the jig to hold the truss up in place so that it can dry. And again, you only want to do these one at a time until the glue's totally dried. So about one truss a day is all the more you're going to be able to do while that's in place like that.